terms of parameters?
Yes.
Sir, in terms of parameters, we measure malnutrition by child stunting, child wasting, and the underweight of the children, along with child mortality also.
How do you define wasting and stunting? Because underweight one can understand, but wasting and stunting, in terms of ratios, can you define it?
Sir, child wasting is low height for weight. I'm extremely sorry, sir. The child stunting is low height for weight, and child wasting is low weight according to the age of the child.
Low weight? Wouldn't that be underweight? How is it different from underweight?
Sir, I think I need to check once. But stunting, I'm sure it is low height for the weight.
For age.
For age.
For age.
Sir, I'll surely check it once.
Tell me about smart governance. What do you understand by smart governance or good governance? What is your take on it? What are the constraints of good governance or smart governance?
Sir, smart governance means using of smart solutions in which IT or the digital sector too plays a very important role in the delivery of the goods and the services by the government. Similarly, good governance, smart governance is a constituent to take us on the path of good governance. And good governance can be defined as the manner in which the service delivery can be best undertaken in a transparent and an accountable manner.
So transparency, IT and accountability, give me three constituents, okay? Accountability. Now give me concrete examples of each. Concrete examples. Because there could be examples of each, isn't it, in the government?
So in the IT,
Working.
so in the IT, I would like to mention certain portals that we are having for the driving license. We are having Vahan. For the passport, we are having Passport Seva. We are also having DigiLocker to have certain documents at a single place. In respect of transparency, we are having the RTI Act, which is a milestone to introduce transparency in the sector. For the accountability, we are having citizen charters to make the citizens aware of their rights and to have certain grievance redressal numbers on them so that the citizens can approach the concerned authorities.
Good. Now you talked about the Parasnath area in Giridih.
Yes.
What is the controversy which has developed there?
So the controversy is the Parasnath Hills was being promoted as an ecotourism zone by the Jharkhand government, and it was also in the ambit of the tourist circuit by the central government too. So there are two dimensions of the Parasnath issue. The first relates to the Jain community. The Jain community argued that promoting the hills as an ecotourism zone might dilute the essence and the religiosity of the area, since it will then bring the restaurant and the hotel industry, and the religiosity of the place might get toned down. The other strand is of the Santhals, the tribal group, who also worship the Parasnath Hills, and they celebrate a festival called Marang Guru, which is referred to the hill deity, and they perform animal sacrifices on it. So the controversy revolved around that. The Jain issue has been resolved since the central government withdrew the notification and the Parasnath has been removed from the ecotourism zone. But the Santhals are still protesting and demanding that their rights, that their traditional rights, should also be recognized.
Now tell me about RTE. What is its relationship to fundamental rights, fundamental duties and reservation? Three areas I would like you to touch upon. RTE.
The Right to Education Act entails that children up to 14 years of age would be imparted free and compulsory education.
0 to 14?
6 to 14 years of age, I'm sorry sir, from 6 to 14 years of age would be imparted free and compulsory education. Fundamental rights
which fundamental right is it? Under which provision of the Constitution is it now a fundamental right?
Sir, it comes under Article 21.
21? Are you sure?
Yes, sir, I am sure.
21A.
21A.
Yes. Not 21. Okay.
Thank you
That's
for
right.
correcting me, sir.
Okay. Now fundamental duties.
Sir, the letter I do not remember, but in terms of fundamental duties, it has been listed that the citizens would strive towards the scientific.
No. With regard to RT, I'm asking. Right to education, there's a fundamental duty as well which has been added. Because of the right, there's a corresponding duty. What is that duty?
That the parents would send their children in the age group of 6 years to 14 years to these schools to get the education.
That's right. And finally, reservation. What is the provision in regard to reservation in the RT? Is there any provision for reservation?
Sir, in respect of the RTE, I am not aware of the reservation provision.
Look it up because there is a reservation.
Sure, sir. Thank you so
My
much.
last question to you is how do you define NMR? And what is the NMR of India and your state?
Sir, MMR, that is maternal mortality rate, refers to number of women who die by giving birth or in the postpartum process per 1 lakh live births.
That's right. Okay. What is the MMR currently of India and of Jharkhand?
Sir, I am getting big numbers in my mind here, so I need to check it once.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
India production 145.
Thank you so much for
But you
enlightening.
should still check. Right. Your dad says you are fond of reading Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, sir, I do have interest and I refer it. I read the shlokas and the English translations.
I will just ask a question. What? You don't read anything else?
Sir, in terms of books,
Yeah. But you said reading Bhagavad Gita. Does it mean you don't read anything other than Bhagavad Gita?
sir, I do read.
But that's the wrong interpretation I'm taking.
Sir, I do read other books and other materials, but I mentioned it in the
Right. That's how you.
yes, as an interest.
So, any lessons for our country, for the world from Bhagavad Gita? Just headlines, 1, 2, 3.
Sir, I would like to draw 3 lessons for one for the administration, one for the country, and one in general. For the administration, I would like to list the first lesson is, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna asks Arjuna to fight irrespective of who is standing in front of him, irrespective of the circumstances. Which means, in the administration too, one must perform his duty irrespective of any relatives or any personal ties that one is having. So there should be.
So this is against crony capitalism. You understand crony capitalism?
Sir,
Those in power being hand in gloves with the tycoons, with the rich people, and trying to bend the policies in their favor. Next lesson.
So secondly, for the country, I would like to draw the lesson of character enhancement, which I see in terms of human capital development, wherein Lord Krishna says that the focus, when we are trying to build an asset for the future generation, the focus should not only be on the material things, but also on the character advancement of our younger generation. So the country in its path should, and we are surely focusing on human capital in respect of health and education, and so this can be one teaching for the country. In general, the Gita talks about self-discovery and knowing oneself. How one should try always to
let me move to another subject. Thanks. What is India's TFR currently? Total fertility rate.
Sir, according to the NFHS file, India has a fertility rate of 2.2.
2 point?
6.
2.2. I thought it was something. And do you have any idea what was India's TFR around the time of our independence?
Sir, I'm not sure about the exact number. I can make a guess.
Yeah, millions.
Sir, it can be around 4.
It was 6.
Thank you for that.
Some people believe that Muslims have been producing too many children ever since independence. How far do we agree with this?
Sir, I believe that we cannot classify without the basis of any official data.
Data supports this for a certain period.
Sir, so we must be having data for other communities too?
Yes.
Sir, even if we have data, I would say that if we have the data that the Muslims are producing too much, and since the goal is about achieving the replacement rate, so we should not see in terms of the communities, but look at the reasons.
Why not? If there are specific problems associated with certain communities in certain regions. The truth is, religion is a factor when development is slow, which was the case in India for the first 3 or 4 decades. When development rate of GDP growth rate picked up, religion became almost unrecognizable as a factor. Between NFHS 1 and NFHS 5, Muslims have shown the highest decline in the TFR rate. They were producing more children in the first 40 years. Therefore, the proportion of Hindus declined in Indian population in the first 4 decades, but not after that. Anyway, let me move to my last question. Jharkhand has come out with a fascinating scheme for the migrant laborers. What is the name and what is the objective of that scheme?
Sir, Jharkhand recently started the Jharkhand Migrant Labor Survey.
Yeah, but it has a very interesting name. Anyway, let's forget about the name if you can't recall.
Yes, sir, I have read about the...
Okay, what are they trying to do?
So they're trying to map the migrant laborers, the skill set that they're having, and to identify the health indicators too, so that the solutions can be crafted, they can be employed in certain sectors, and also the health aspect can be dealt with.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
You have done history honors, so I have some questions from history. Which period of history do you like most so that I can ask some questions from there?
Now, I am very interested in the modern Indian history, particularly the women's question, since I see how the women were struggling to gain the education. There was I am forgetting the name, but there was this one lady who stole the books of her son to read and illiterate herself. So I'm interested in that.
That may be an aspect of modern history. So where do you begin modern history? As from European standards, modern period starts much earlier than what we assume. So what would be the reason of these differences of identifying the modern history at different labels?
Ma'am, modern history can be seen from the beginning of the late 17th century can be seen as the beginning of the modern period. We have certain scholars who classify this period as the early modern. And post that, we had the colonials coming in, the Britishers, the Portuguese, the change in the trade relations. Then we had in the 18th century the battles. So from there,
Actually, it was much earlier. Portuguese are at the end of the 15th century, and they emerged powerful in the beginning of 16th century. And Dutch and English and then French are already there from around 1700. Two companies and French India. So, end of 17th century, what is so important that it becomes our, because the English have not risen in power, Dutch are like shifting towards Southeast Asia, so they have not much impact on Indian history.
Ma'am, one reason I see the beginning of modern in this period, modern is identifying with certain modern values, such as nationalism, humanism,
That's
commercialization.
a very late concept in Indian context. Nationality, nationalism, these issues came up very late.
Yes, ma'am, the idea of nationalism did come very late, but in the late 17th and the early 18th century, we do have the idea of education, the idea of paper printing coming in, and how the dispersal of the information through new aspects coming in.
I disagree with you because early 18th century, though, there are no such newspapers because it's a late development, late 18th century. So, who are the one who introduced newspaper system? Because when we say akhbar, there is a tradition of newspaper. How would you differentiate between the akhbar of the Europeans and the akhbar of the Mughals?
Yes, ma'am, there is a difference between the akhbar of the Mughals. We did not have the paper information in the time of the Mughals.
Oh, you are from Granda and you have the history honors, so you must have heard about the term that it was a paper empire. People like Jagannath Sarkar wrote Mughal Empire was a paper sarkar. So what do you understand by paper sarkar? You say there was no paper. Paper was actually introduced by the Turks in India. It was not manufactured here. It was generally imported. So अगर हम कहें कि पेपर एम्पायर था तो किस सेंस में पेपर एम्पायर था?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of the terminology.
Okay, let me answer you because large number of paper work was done, each and everything was recorded, and the akhbars were the daily reports which were received in the court from all parts of the empire. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि simply powerless empire था जो उनके सिर्फ कागज पर है. It was really a powerful empire जहाँ each and every day developments were reported to the through different sources. और ये mainly state से related है और जो newspapers बाद में introduce हो रहे हैं वो masses के लिए हैं. ये official purpose है. The अखबार is the collection of news from different quarters और ये अखबारात कहलाते हैं. These are available to us roughly from Shahjahan's period onwards. Positive tradition is there. So what are the important writings you have read on medieval or modern or ancient history? What is?
Ma'am, during my college time, we did have readings from certain books. I did not follow the entire books.
For example, some standard books.
From ancient India, I did refer certain parts of early empire by Rabindranath Tagore and Ranveer Chakravarti's book too. I do not remember the name. From the medieval times, I read Eva for a certain part of the art and cultural history, as also Muzaffar Alam and Sanjay Subramaniam sir's book. I'm really sorry, ma'am, I do not remember the names of the books.
The last question, it was raised by him, but I'm trying to see and hear from him too about the language. English is the dominant language. But it had happened in the early period also because we are a student of history that Sanskrit was the core language and everybody would take pride in learning Sanskrit, although it was limited to people. What are your ideas about the introduction of Persian and adoption of Persian as a language in God and people? Persian played the same role in medieval society as English is doing now.
Yes, ma'am.
So, how do you differentiate or compare the two things?
Ma'am, we are talking about the comparison of Persian and English.
Because there was a time people would take pride in learning Persian and doing things in Persian.
Yes, ma'am. in the Mughal period, we do have a term called Persianization too, wherein the court language was the Persian, and the people from across the backgrounds wanted to learn Persian so that they could get jobs in the administration and be placed closer to the emperor, closer to the court, because that defined their status, their remunerations too. And later, when the Britishers came and introduced English, the English became the language of the administration and the power.
English introduced as a language of administration. It was very late.
Yes, ma'am, it was very late. It was after the Macaulay's Minute, as far as I remember, when the idea of promoting English education came up.
That's in 19th century, before that they adopted English, Urdu and Persian. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shruti, can we talk about freedom of press?
Sure, sir.
Okay. Is freedom of press a fundamental right? It is an important pillar of democratic setup. Right?
Yes, sir.
That we can agree on.
Yes, sir.
But from where does the journalist or the press draw its privileges and rights?
So from Article 19, freedom of speech and expression,
Right.
we can draw the idea of the information and the rights of the media can be traced to Article 19.
Okay. So what are the rights available to journalists or media institutions in respect of doing their job of freedom of expression or freedom of press? Are there some rights or privileges available to journalists or media organizations? Or let me rephrase it. Is there a relationship of confidence between a journalist and his sources?
Yes, sir, to the best of my knowledge, there is a relationship of confidence between the news source that a journalist draws and the journalist himself, which
Confidence
is
or confidentiality? Confidence or confidentiality?
confidentiality, sir. Thank you for correcting me.
Okay, what? So there is a relationship of confidence between the journalist and his sources. So can a journalist be legally required to disclose his sources?
Sir, if the circumstances arise where the situation has come that the journalist has to, if the situation is about the security of the state or any other major issues internationally, our friendly relations with the foreign nations, then surely the journalist can be asked to disclose his source of information so that the emergent situation can be
Is
handled.
he legally bound to disclose it?
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of the legal provisions.
Alright, I was asking this question in the context of yesterday's income tax action against BBC. So there is this comment that the personal records of journalists or their phone were taken and cloned. So can it be legally done? That's what I was coming to. So what is your opinion? Can the personal information or information given to a journalist by its sources be taken in an enforcement action by any government agency? Or should it be?
So this depends on the situation. It is a situational thing. The cloning of the phone would also involve certain personal information of the journalist. It happens to be a phone in the present day life is a very important substance that a person owns. So despite cloning the entire phone with the jurisdiction of the authorities, we must have only the information to be taken by the investigating agencies that is required.
Let's move to something else. You were earlier discussing about this Adani affair, and you said that we should not worry about what happens in the stock exchange. Movement of share prices up and down should not worry us as a nation or as common citizens. Now there are issues involved corporate governance. So should we not be worried about corporate governance?
So we should definitely be worried about corporate governance.
And there are also issues of role of regulators. And there are other happenings on the stock exchange, particularly fraudulent or suspected fraudulent activities.
Yes.
So that is also something that should be a matter of public issue of concern.
Sure, sir, because
My last question. This discussion sometimes had about freebies versus levies.
yes, sir.
So what is freebie? What is the levy? How do you classify it? Then in what situation it will be justified, or in what situation it will not be justified?
Sir, the term freebie has been coined to refer to those subsidies that are given by the government of the state or the center, which is not very financially sustainable and is seen as wasteful. The term freebie is referred to that. Coming to the relevance of the freebies or the revenue culture itself, we have to look at two things. First, the end goal that we are trying to achieve by the giving of the particular subsidy. The amount of the population, the lives, and the manner in which it is going to touch the lives of the citizens. Secondly, we must also see the fiscal capacity of the state or the center. So in these two terms, we must classify a certain subsidy as a freebie.
So affirmative action has always been part of Indian society, in the sense that since there are lots of differences in inequality, both social and economic, affirmative action by government are required and are that postulated by the Constitution itself.
Sure.
So in that sense, the freebies or affirmative facilities or benefits are allowed to decide sections and they are sustainable economically, as you say, they are not economic.
Sir, here I would like to explain in terms of an example. If we are talking about giving laptops as a subsidized thing to promote digital education, we must also see that laptops have a life of 2.5 to 3 years. So, if we do not have a backup plan to have the repair of the laptops, the replacement, so what is the future idea behind the digital education? Surely it will promote the last mile connectivity and digital literacy and telehealth, but there should be a plan to have the process continuing post 2.5 or 3 years. Similarly, I would like to draw a second example in terms of the TVs. In terms of TV, the idea was forwarded that it would tackle domestic violence issues, the giving of the TV as the TV. But the idea must be understood that to tackle domestic violence, we need strict laws, strict enforcement, and the proper sensitization of the public. So,
Okay,
these
so
two
you
terms.
thank you.
Now, I think we will do this. You want to ask something? So now you can give her the feedback. You can take the diary and then, if you want to.
Thank you so much, sir.
You can take the second one. It's already almost full. The second. This is almost full. Then I have to take.
Because of return and left, they are not here.
No, we took out the paper from the paper.
I think Shruti, you are an excellent candidate, one of the best we've seen so far. So there's very little I have to say to you, except for the fact that history needs a bit of attention and women and child-centric issues. So you should be aware, for instance, of the reservation and our team, things like that. But those are minor details. As such, you are confident, you are articulate, and you have a very good business, so you will do very well. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
I have nothing to add, you're so good.
You need to improve upon your knowledge about